you're somebody who doesn't know where to start exercising, are a beginner, or just have no background in training, then this is the video for you. What's going on, guys? Armando Gong here. Now, I know there is quite a lot of information out there talking about health and fitness and exercising that it can pretty much make your mind explode. There's plenty of things that you can do, and I've even talked about a lot of the own goals that I've had for myself and the type of training that I'm planning on doing in this video up here. Now, sometimes we get too focused on the little details and we miss the forest for the trees. And what I want to talk about in this video is two basic principles which I think have given me the most bang for the buck in my own health, fitness, and training, and hopefully share that with you so that you can take on your own journey. But first, a disclaimer. If you have any underlying medical conditions, you should definitely see a healthcare professional before you take on any exercise or training plan. Now let's get into it. Now, rule number one. Any movement is always better than no movement. And I know especially during these pandemic times, we're all staying inside our homes, staying on the computers a lot more, and just moving less frequently. Now, I don't think I need to say this because I think we all know that exercise is good for you, but I just want to repeat this again about why you would want to be moving even more. Lower risk of dying from all causes, lower risk of cardiovascular disease, lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease, lower risk of type 2 diabetes, lower risk of just cancers in various organs like the bladder, breast, colon, endometrium, esophagus, kidney, lung, stomach, better cognition, reduced risk of dementia, improved quality of life, reduced anxiety, reduced risk of depression, improved sleep, slow and reduced weight gain, weight loss, preventing weight regain from weight loss, improved bone health, improved physical function, lower risk of falling, and lower risk of falling related injuries. Now, how much moving and exercise are we really talking about here? The physical activity guidelines published by the US Department of Health and Human Services, recommends 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity or 75 minutes per week of vigorous aerobic activity, or a mix of the two. If you break it down into how many minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise we're talking about per day, that's 30 minutes across 5 days or 22 minutes every single day of the week. If you break it down so even more, you don't even have to do all these sessions all at once. 30 minutes a day can be broken down into 2 15-minute sessions, 3 10-minute sessions, 5 6-minute sessions, or even 10 3-minute sessions. Basically, the more you move, the better it is. It doesn't really matter how you get the time in, as long as you get the work done. Now, what exactly does moderate intensity aerobic activities mean? We're talking about walking somewhat fast, water aerobics, dancing, gardening, tennis, or even biking slower than 10 miles an hour. It doesn't even really matter what activity you choose as long as you're moving around. If you're doing the activity and you can talk, but you can't sing during the activity, that's pretty much considered moderate intensity. The bottom line is that finding ways to move more in your day-to-day activity can help you get so many benefits in the future, no matter how you decide to go about doing it. So just move more and keep it simple. Now, the second rule I have is that you need to focus on the basics and the fundamentals in everything you do, and that they pretty much have the biggest bang for the buck in every single activity / venture / anything that you do in life. You master the basics and the more advanced things are going to show up. Now, I talked about how the physical activity guidelines recommended doing 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise work before, but they also recommended that individuals get 2 times a week of strength training. And my second rule really plays a big role in how I train for myself to get my strength training in. But first, I want to talk about what exactly strength training even means. And based on the literature, we're talking about doing things to the point where it's hard for you to do another rep without help. Now, there's a lot of discussion about what are considered fundamental exercises, basics, but there isn't really any agreed upon exercises because, quite honestly, every single sport, every single task requires different things, and nothing is ever really universal. So for the purposes of this video, I really want to talk about these exercises that I believe are fundamental because they're both full body, they are used in every single day activities, and I think for the time invested in doing these exercises, you get the most bang for the buck. Now, I like to consider these next 4 movements as basically the 4 movements that you can build upon a strength training program and basically get quite a lot of it just from doing these 4 moves. Now, the first move I consider as a basic fundamental movement is the squat. And I think this is pretty obvious because we use this every single day, basically getting up from the chair and sitting back down. The second movement I consider to be a fundamental movement is a hinge pattern. A lot of people don't really think of it this way, but every time you pick up something off the floor, you shovel, or you're just trying to move boxes around, picking things up and moving things around, you're pretty much hinging. The third movement I think is considered a basic fundamental movement is a push movement, meaning you are pushing things away, you're pushing things up. Now, everyone does this in some form or fashion, whether you are pushing a lawnmower or push your broken down car along the side of the road. And the fourth movement I consider a basic fundamental movement is the pulling movement. Now this one actually I had to think a little bit harder about what it is I do in everyday life, but quite honestly, I like to be able to do a pull-up because growing up in New York City, you're taking subways, and I always had this weird fear that I might get kicked down into the platform below, and I would have to pull myself up off from the platform before a train comes to basically kill me. So I've always been training pull-ups just in case I need to pull myself up to safety. Now I'm keeping it to just these four movements because I think keeping it simple, keeping it basic, and building upon these four movements can basically take you very, very far in whatever fitness and exercise journey that you plan on going on. And like I said before, I think focusing on the four movements I mentioned, the squat, the hinge, the push, and the pull, and you're just focusing on just these four movements, you are going to get strong to do a lot of things in life. Now there's lots of times where we think that going to the gym is the only way we can get stronger, but in my next video I'm going to talk about how you can do all these movements all at home so that you don't have to spend the time going to the gym. Now I also provide one-on-one online coaching where I give you a training program. I give you accountability to make sure you're doing the things you need to do to reach your fitness goals. Weekly check-ins so that we are always in communication to individualize your training program. If you're interested in this, head on over to my website at armandogong.com and schedule a free consultation session with me. Bottom line with my video is that I think you can get very far with just these two simple rules. Number one, move more. Number two, focus on the basics and fundamentals. And especially in the case of strength training, for me, the squat, the hinge, the push, and the pull, and you'll go very, very far. Now I also have these two other videos that may interest you in helping you live your best life. That's all I have for today.